Hey everybody, it's Chris Eads, Wootini, over at gaygamer.net, here with another weekly video podcast. I want to start this week by saying, oh my god, go see Gravity. Gravity was fantastic. But if you're going to go see Gravity, please do make sure that you go and see it in a 3D theater, because I can't imagine it being nearly as effective in 2D. It's one of those rare movies that was shot for 3D, in 3D, and by a talented director who knows how to use a 3D camera. I mean, all those scenes that you saw in the commercials and in the trailers with, you know, the debris and Sandra Bullock spinning through space and whatever, like, seeing it on the big screen in 3D, I still gasped. I clutched the pearls. I was like, like, it was like you're there. It just, you're in the ship with her, you're in the space station moving through the little tunnels. The 3D is used to such amazing effect. I do sort of wish that I had maybe gone to see it in IMAX, although I've only ever seen one IMAX movie, and I didn't like it because it's too big. It was too much, it was overpowering, and I was afraid in 3D it'd be even more ridiculous. But there's a part of me that wonders, like, just how, like, it was already super impressive in regular 3D. But in IMAX 3D, I'm afraid that, like, I would have passed out. So definitely see it. Don't see it in 2D. A lot of times, I'll choose the 2D screening of a movie because the 3D is terrible. And it's all done in post-production, and it isn't good. But this one you have to see in 3D. In fact, it was great. I'd like to own it, but I would not buy this on a regular 2D Blu-ray, because the effect would be lost. I feel like even as small as my TV would be, I would need to have a 3D TV and the 3D Blu-ray in order to enjoy this picture the way it was meant to be enjoyed. And then all this 3D talk is going to lead me into some talk about some 3DS games that I got a chance to try when I went over to Nintendo's offices recently. First up was Pokémon X and Y. I played a little demo of that. And at first I thought the 3DS that they'd given me to try it on was busted, because there was no 3D effect. And I kept wiggling the slider, and there was just no 3D. And so I'm moving around the world map, and there's no 3D, and I thought, what the hey? And then I suddenly ran into a Pokemon in the tall grass, as you do. And suddenly everything went in 3D, and it was all dynamic camera angles, and the battle had depth to it. And I have no idea why the world map has no 3D effects in it at all. I mean, it's lovely 3D graphics, you know, everything's all made of polygons now, so it's all very, very pretty and graphically lovely. But, I am one of the few people who actually plays his 3DS with the 3D slider up, and everything is in 3D, because I actually love 3D. So I know that it's probably because they're trying to get people to play this on the 2DS, where you wouldn't miss the 3D at all. I just think it's just lame, and I don't see the reason for why you can't just have that be in 3D. So that's disappointing. But it's good, because I was afraid I was going to be so sucked into it, and I was going to fall in love with it, and I was still going to buy it anyway, and then have to put it aside when Phoenix Wright comes out. But because of the lack of stereoscopic 3D effects in half the game, I guess, pretty much, I will have no trouble waiting for a month to play Pokemon until after I finish Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Dual Destinies. The other game that I tried used the 3D to much better effect, and that is The Legend of Zelda: Link Between Worlds. First of all, the top-down with the 3D effect is very cool, but what I loved about it is that as you move to the edge of the map, it still pans to the next square, just like old school, you know? And I loved that. I thought that was such a cool effect. But the 3D is used to great effect because there's different levels of the dungeons, you know, and you have to, like, jump up to the next level or, you know, ride things up. And you know, things are on a different level. You have to figure out how to get up there, and plus you can then, you know, merge with the wall and turn 2D and move yourself along the wall and everything. And so you have to attack these dungeons very, very carefully, because you have to think in many different dimensions at once to solve these puzzles. I didn't get a chance to try out, like, it was just a quick demo of the overworld, and then I quick made my way towards the dungeon and made my way through a little bit of the dungeon just to try out some of the stuff. So I didn't get a chance to try out this whole, you know, go to the store and buy a couple of items and then go do the dungeon with those items, which I'm not really sure how that's going to work. Nintendo revealed that that's how you're going to do it now. All the items are available from the start, and you just go to the store and get them. Well, you rent them. And I don't know how that's going to work, because I guess you'd go into a dungeon and be like, oh, I guess I don't really need the boomerang. I'm going to need the grappling hook or whatever. Or, oh, I'll need the hammer for this one. Then you have to backtrack out and go to the store and pick up another, unless there's like a store right outside of every dungeon, in which case that would be a little easier, but probably not. But Legend of Zelda Link Between Worlds was great. That used the 3D to wonderful effect. I also did get a chance to try the 2DS, which was surprisingly comfortable. It looks like such a weird wedge-shaped thing, but it was surprisingly comfortable even with my big adult hands. Though I have to admit that going back to those tiny screens after playing on the 3DS XL for so long was sad, and I didn't like the tiny screens. But I have no doubt that if the 2DS is a success, and launching it alongside Pokémon, I'm sure it will sell quite a few of them. I have no doubt that there is a 2DS XL somewhere in the making right now. The other game that I wanted to talk about that I had a chance to try out that is coming soon is Wii Party U. It's another minigame collection. There's a lot of minigame collections. The Wii had a lot of them too. But it uses the gamepad in very creative ways, which is always nice, instead of just a regular game. And I played some of the minigames, and they are very fun. What I like about Wii Party U is that while there's 80 minigames, I'm told that 70 of them are playable in single player, which is helpful because I don't always have a lot of people to come over and play these games. So it's kind of lame to get these minigame collections and then try to play them with just one other person. Because I can get my husband to play with me sometimes, but some of them you really need like 3 or 4 people to be playing to make it at all entertaining. But I do also appreciate that there are some you can play by yourself and it's still entertaining and fun. And, because I'm sad and lonely. Oh, one last thing before I go. The Wii U update came out, and it lets you play Wii games on the gamepad, in off-TV mode, which I thought was weird, but then I thought, oh, that would be really cool, because then I can play games and just, like, some games that don't use the Wiimote and just use buttons, you can play off TV, like a Virtual Console game, you can just play it on the gamepad. Unfortunately, I discovered you can't. The buttons on the gamepad do not function. The only button that seems to function on the gamepad would be the power button, so that you can turn the gamepad off if you're just going to play your Wii on the TV properly. But you have to use a Wiimote attached to a nunchuck or, you know, a classic controller. And it's just kind of weird, because I don't get it, because you're then holding the gamepad like in your lap, and you're waving the remote at this time. And I mean, there's a sensor at the top of the gamepad, so it works. I've tried it. It works. You can aim. You just got to be real tiny movements because your screen is so tiny. It's just awkward because you have to like prop up the gamepad and then wiggle your remote around, or prop up the gamepad and then play with the remote or the classic controller. And I'm hoping that at some point Nintendo does a patch that for games where you're only using buttons and not actually aiming with the remote, you know, where you don't have to aim with the remote, like that you can actually just use the buttons on the gamepad, because that would just make things a lot simpler. So I was a little disappointed in that, because I got excited for a second, but they might patch it later. We'll see. Until then, I will enjoy my off-TV mode with games like Wind Waker HD, because I can use the buttons. Alright, that's enough for me this week. Next week is Comic-Con, so check back next week for my Comic-Con footage. and I will see you then. Bye!